We almost started with somebody giggling inappropriately and
we did.
stopped yourself. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cubist. My name is Bill Corey. I am the Cubist, and welcome to 2018. Happy New Year, everybody. How's it going?
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm just
doing
adjusting a little bit.
That shaky cam thing for authenticity. Is that what it is?
Exactly. That's what we're working for here. I never
Gotcha.
turned my thing on here, so go ahead and keep talking, Bill.
Anyway, Happy New Year, folks. Welcome to 2018. Let's start with, oh, there you go. Look at that. See, you do have a lower third. Let's start with
you,
our ever faithful Mr. Brandon Kemp. Hello, Brandon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Bill?
I am well. I
trust that it was a good New Year's Eve last night, working.
Yeah, well,
spinning the tunes.
Yes, I worked until about 5 o'clock this morning, and then and then got home and proceeded to spend most of today recovering. But I'm back. I'm recovered. I have more energy than I suspected I would at this point in my evening, which is exciting.
That's good.
And
you'll have to carry us
because I'm carrying the show today. Oh, good. This will go well. First of all, hello, chat room. How's it going? Over the span of this particular show, because it's just the two of us, it's just Brandon and I today, we will do our very best to keep a half an eye on the chat. But don't be surprised if we don't type in there. We might just have to talk to you today, just because with fewer hands. So without further ado, let's get into it. Before we start talking about our most anticipated games of 2018, and we both have, well, I have a pretty significant list. I don't know, Brandon, we'll see how your list looks later.
Yep.
Let's talk about stuff we have been playing. And I am going to go first this time, not to be rude, but because this one's going to take a little bit of heavy lifting. I want to talk about This War of Mine, the board game. This came out this past year from, let's see, who is the official publisher on this? I have to pull this up because I'm woefully unprepared.
You keep talking, I can tell you.
Ares Games. It's Ares Games. I have the page open. I just didn't have the right thing clicked. This is Ares Games board game print of a video game that came out. I want to say 2016 is when the game first came out, and they've been releasing modules ever since. This is the concept of the game is that you are a band of survivors in a war-torn city, just trying to kind of keep yourselves alive and gain some purpose from life. And so the way that I would, getting away from the theme for a half a minute, the way that I would describe the mechanic, first off, it's a cooperative game. It's essentially a solo game. So how it works is each player can decide when they are going to make the decisions for the entire group. So basically, if you are the one making, if it's your turn, if you're the one holding the journal, you're the one that gets to make all the decisions, and everybody's supposed to talk amongst themselves and make, and, you know, help with the decisions, but ultimately it's your call. And then you literally pass the journal, and whoever's holding the journal at any given moment makes all the decisions. The journal is also the rule book, and it tells you exactly how it is that you have to play the game. And this, other than that, it is basically an action selection game. Each of your survivors is a worker or an action that can be picked in order to decide what you're going to do. And that can be to gather resources or to fix up your home so that way you have better crafting abilities, you know, the ability to gather food or water automatically or whatever. So you'll have a day phase where you'll do all that stuff. Then you have a night phase where some of your survivors will go out scavenging and some survivors will guard your home because there will be raids. There are raids every night. This is a very hostile environment. And basically at the end of each cycle of these phases, you'll start over, you know, so you play through days, and each day is like one card in this event stack. And when you get through if you survive the entire event stack, all of those days, you win the game. That's basically how it works. It is essentially a storybook game a la Above and Below, Near and Far, Tales of the Arabian Nights, you know, Agents of Smirch, those sorts of games. And here's a big book, turn to 1142 and do whatever it says. It's that coupled with decks of cards for days, right? So this is another one of those games that has like 15 decks of cards that you place all around the board. So think like Arkham Horror here, where, okay, flip the top card of this deck, do what it says. Now flip the card of this deck, and that deck tells you to go to flip to this part of the book or whatever. And as a result, it creates a really good narrative but the subject material is so heavy and so that it is not fun. Here's the problem. It's not fun. Like, it's a great game. I really think this is a well-designed game that does maybe the best job that I've seen in recent memory of providing a narrative in board game fun or in board game form. But it is joyless. Like, you have very few moments in this game, I think, where you find yourself like laughing or smiling or whatever. Everything is just dark, and your people, like, every character is going to have 5 stats that get tracked. Okay. 5 states, misery, fatigue, illness, hunger, and wounds. Right? Like, everything's terrible. Nobody ever has like oh, I'm awesome. If you like, you might have a character that's addicted to caffeine, so you get them some coffee. Great. The only thing that coffee does is prevents them from getting misery. You never get like oh, you had extra coffee today, so you feel great. Here's an extra action. You get none of that. So there's no like uplifting moments. And so even though the game is really well designed, you really have to be in the right frame of mind when you pull this thing out, right? Like, you have to be ready for this. And in like, when friend of the show in the chat room, Ben, and I were playing this, I found myself wanting to like turn on like bubblegum pop music in the background just to sort of offset what was going on in the game. I didn't, because I also didn't want to make a mockery out of it, but that's how it felt. So I'm going to say that for me, this War of Mine is a play it. I like it. I think that for the cost, I think it's a very well-designed game. The quality is excellent. I think there's nothing wrong with what you actually get. There are actually 2 campaigns. There's the base one, and then if you get bored with that, there's a second scenario that you can play to sort of refresh the game and mix up the structure a little bit. But I think I think it's only going to appeal to a really limited audience, and that is my.
It's very much like the video game. Get your camera off me, Bill.
Oh, I was presenting to everyone.
Everybody's like, Brandon's just doing this weird. Bill's doing a ventriloquist act with Brandon.
Oh, weird. I didn't know that.
That's okay.
It shouldn't have been presenting to you. That's strange. Stupid Google Hangouts. Thanks.
Stupid.
Thanks, 2018. My show.
No, but yeah, that's a lot like the video game. The video game was a really, really dark kind of. You never really feel good about playing it, so to speak. But it was really well done. So
yeah. And that's how this is too. And I can't stress that enough, right? Like, everything about this game is so well designed and so well put together in the box that you at all points I was like, wow, this is really well done. This might be the best translation of a video game story-wise, like, to a board game format that I can ever recall seeing. But dear Lord, like, it's so heavy that, and I didn't play the video game before I got this. I got this as a review copy. In the interest of full disclosure, I did get a review copy from Aries Games when I was at PGG. So they did provide this game free of charge. Based on the cost of it, though, I don't know. It's so good. It's just so it's so hard. It's so hard to categorize for me. This was one of the toughest ones because the first time I played it, I was just in love with the mechanisms, right? Like, I was in love with how the game worked. I do think that the rules could have been structured better. I think it's a really hard game to. It doesn't teach itself barely. It wants to. It's very
one
much
of those games that you're going to play to learn, right?
Yeah, the first time you play it, you should expect to lose.
Yeah,
because you're not going to understand exactly how things work. But yeah. Anyway, it's good. It's good. You just have to be the right audience for it, and I'm not sure I'm the right audience for it. So for me, it's a play it. I think that you should try. I think it's a great game to try. I think if somebody else has a copy, you absolutely should make a point of playing it, even if you only play like the first third of it, just to get the idea. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's one of those. I was backing it, and it was on my anticipation list like back in 2006 for 16, I think, or something like that. I forget when it was. And ultimately, I decided not to do it just because of that theme and the fact that while I would have a good time, enjoy it, I don't know who I would get to play it with me very much. So it kind of just fell to the wayside in spite of really sounding like a fantastically well done game.
Okay, and so here is the one redeeming factor that I think it has going for it. It is essentially a solo game. You don't really need another human being to play this game. So if you are a solo gamer and the theme is appealing to you, maybe that's your target, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe those are the people that are going to dig this game the most because it's really good mechanically. And if you can just sit and mainline the game solo, and I did not have a chance to do that personally, so I cannot speak to this personally. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I have played it. We probably sunk like a solid 10, 12 hours into this game, and I couldn't bring myself to finish it.
Yeah.
Like I could not bring myself to finish the campaign. It was that dark. It was really well done, but it's just so dark and so heavy. And I'm not the right guy to play something that dark. I'm just not. I'm not the target demographic. So there you go. That's This War of Mine from Ares Games. I'm going to settle on Play It because I think it's maybe the definition of a play it. As far as my scale goes, I think this is the kind of game that you're going to want to play. But I would not plop down some cash unless you really know that this is for you.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, Brandon, bring the fun factor back.
Bring the fun. Let's do a quick one. And then, because you said you had 2 to talk about possibly.
Yes, please.
Okay. We'll do Topiary first.
Okay.
This was another one provided to me by Renegade Games, of course. So at full disclosure, I am doing a review of it for them. Topiary is what?
Where's that review going to be posted?
It's going to be posted on What Did You Play This Week?
Yes. There you
go. What Topiary was originally from Fever Games. I think it's an Italian company, if I'm not mistaken. I'll do more research as we do this, but it's really a simple little tile laying game for a place of 15 to 30 minutes tops. What you are is you are visitors to a topiary garden of topiaries, and you're basically going to have a 5x5 grid tiles that they're going to be face down. You don't know what they are, except for the middle one's flipped up, but it's really not that important for my quick description here. So on your turn, basically, all you're going to do is you're going to place a meeple along the outside edge of this topiary on one of the tiles, either at a diagonal or straight ahead on that tile. And then you're going to look down that row. You're going to take a tile. You're going to look at it. And you're going to look at the tiles that you have in your hand. You're going to decide on one, and you're going to put it there in that space face up. So you're revealing the topiary as you're looking at it, right? The goal is much like photosynthesis with the tall things blocking light and things like that. At the end of the game, you want to be able to see as many topiaries as you possibly can. So you want to set them up to where if you're looking straight down a row, you want, in a perfect world, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Mm-hmm. Going in size order, so that you see all those, and then you're going to gain points for that. But the fun part of it is with all these different angles and with all these different lines, other people can kind of just go in there and they're looking at that same thing, and they can just kind of mess up your line. And so it's like this all constant battle going along, just trying to get the best view of the topiaries. And essentially that's what the game is. In like 20 minutes, you're placing a meeple, you're flipping a tile. You do this, you score it at the end, and you see who saw the most, and whoever does that wins. I'm doing a top 25 of my games of 2017, and this is on there after 8 plays, and it's in the top 10. Wow. It's a really wonderful little game, but I like these kind of games. I like these games where you can be as dickish as you want to be or not as dickish as you want to be. It's not a mean game. It's, it facilitates that. It allows you to kind of mess with your other opponents a little bit if you want to. But it's a wonderfully done game by Renegade. The artwork is beautiful. Danny Devine kind of, as the designer, came up with this. It's one of those games where you sit and you play it and you're like, that should have been done before.
Gotcha.
It's one of those really simple things that you could have thought. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's Topiary.
So I'm going to guess that on the Cubist scale, it's a buy it then?
It's a buy it for me. I don't think it's going to be horribly expensive. So I think it's going to be, it's not in depth, but I think it's kind of, in my review, I'm going to kind of compare it. It reminds me a lot of Arboretum, which is another one that I absolutely love, which is card game and different style. But yes, I think it's a buy it.
Gotcha. I got to say, Renegade. If there is a strength that Renegade Game Studios seems to have, especially in 2017 and 2016, let's say the last 2 years, it's that they seem to have a really good eye for games that do something different, right?
Yeah.
Like games that are somehow bringing something slightly different to the table, but in a familiar enough context that you don't feel like you're really breaking outside of your comfort zone, right? Like their games are mechanically familiar but still innovative. That seems to me to be their wheelhouse, which I love, right? Nice. Like there are some companies where it always seems like what they're doing is like, I mean, we talked about this 2 weeks ago about how Uwe, we're sort of watching his career develop in front of our eyes, right? Because every game is sort of like a spin on the last one, and which is great if you already like it, and he's never going to resell you on himself, right? Like, you know what I mean? This Renegade feels like that as a company, they've taken a different approach where they're trying to show you different aspects of stuff that's always familiar. And this one looks really neat.
It is a wonderful little thing, and it's just a nice little touch that they did. They're all about inclusivity. I mean, the green visitors that go to the topiary are in wheelchairs, so your meeples are in wheelchairs.
Oh, that's
really
cool.
Just kind of a nice touch.
I like stuff like that. That's neat, and it takes so little effort too. That's really what it comes down to. It's not hard to do.
Nope, not at all. But it's nice that they thought about it and did it.
All right, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit excited about this one now. This one had flown completely past me, so this is gonna be good.
Okay,
I like it. All right, my second one that I received from Eric Buscemi sent it to me. Eric Buscemi of Punchboard Media. No.
Where we all bring something to the table.
You yell at me every time I do it without.
I was spaced out for a second. Sorry.
Brandon's recovering from some illness, which is why he's wearing his monkey robe and his glow in the dark ears. So everybody be nice to him a little bit. All right. So anyway, Eric sent me a copy of Alien Artifacts. This is designed by. We don't have Patrick to be our official mispronouncer of names.
Nope.
This is an Alien. This is a Portal Games title from 2017. I'm not even going to try because it's not going to happen. The description on BGG refers to it as a 4X style card game. I think that's kind of BS. What it is it's a tableau building game. So the idea is that you have a deck of resource cards, which have 4 different icons on them in quantities from 1 to 3. And there are two sets of icons per card, one on each end of the card. So this end might have 3 blue icons and the bottom might have 1 red icon or whatever. And then there are a couple other icons and numbers on every card just that serve other purposes in the game. And the idea is that you also have decks of cards that represent ships, planets, and technologies. And to get a ship into play requires 5 of the red icons. And then for every ship you already have in play, you'll add 1. So the second ship you could put into play will cost 6, third one will cost 7, so on and so forth. Technologies are the same thing with blue icons. Planets are the same thing with green icons. And then gold icons are sort of wild, and you can use them in combinations with any of the other things to help sort of make up. And the idea is that you're building a tableau. So this will look at first blush very similar to like 51st State, where you have your center player board, and then you add stuff to the left is under construction, and to the right is made. And as you get things to the right, they will help you build an engine that'll make other things easier, give you more abilities to earn points, or yada, yada, yada. Okay. And the game ends when you go through that resource deck X number of times, where X is the number of players. So in a 3-player game, you go through the resource deck 3 times. That triggers end game. Everybody scores up. You get points for how many cards you have in your tableau. You get points for any technology cards that you played to their operational side. I should point this out. Every card you put in your tableau can be put either logistics side, which gives you in-game abilities, or operational side, which will do something different depending on the type of card. So like planets give you a one-time burst of cards. Technologies give you scoring opportunities. And then ships give you the ability to attack, which you can either attack other planets just to kind of slow them, or other players to kind of slow them down, or you can attack basically this NPC planet to potentially earn a point or 2 and get other stuff. And then it's rinse and repeat. So you sort of are building your own little tableau in front of you and kind of trying to get your engine rolling. The only interplayer interaction that exists is if you decide to attack, or if you gank a card from a stack in the center of the table that somebody else might want. Like you get the feeling they're going to want this thing, so you buy it first to deny it to them, which is tangential at best, because you don't really, unless maybe my brain is just not as big as other people's, but I don't think there is any chance in hell that I can look at your tableau from across the table, even in a 2-player game, and be like, oh yeah, you definitely are going to be looking for this card, so I'm going to go buy it. That's never going to happen. It's possible. It's just not super likely. So instead, you can attack and put what are called blockade tokens to make people have to spend money in order to use the cards they already have in their tableau. I have played this game now at 3 players a few times and at 2 players a few times. And what I'm going to say is that I really, really like this game a lot. I was pleasantly surprised. When I first got it, I read the rules and I'm like, this feels like yet another 51st State / Imperial Settlers / whatever, right? Like, how many times is Portal going to go back to the same well? And then I started playing it and I realized, no, it's not that at all. It looks like it, but that's where the similarities end. It's very much a different, very much a different game in every way. The art's good. I like, again, little touches like Brandon was talking about with Topiary, is that your player mat, you can have you can identify as male on one side or female on the other. So you get, there's, like I said, little dumb things like that are so easy to implement and yet are a nice touch. The art is really good. It did that weird thing where the artwork, the color art is embossed on matte finish cardstock. So like the art is shiny, but everything else isn't, which makes things pop just a little bit more, which I really liked. I know that that's a dumb little thing, but I love little touches like that. I think this game has a really good presentation. From what I understand, the insert is really good. I didn't get it with an insert. Eric sent me another game that I will review on a future episode when I feel like going negative. Hint, hint. That he tucked inside the box to save on shipping costs. So I didn't see the insert. For what I hear, the insert is really good. Without the insert, however, this is a box full of air. You could put this in a deck box, like in an Ultra Pro deck box. You could almost fit this entire thing in a 100-count deck box. And aside from the player boards and the scoreboard, this is basically just a bunch of decks of cards, which means it's very portable. So if you have a quiver or something like that, you could probably make this game extremely portable and get a really good, solid tableau game out of this. I really liked it. I think for me, this is a buy it. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm very glad that I got it. And it's not very expensive either. Like, this is pretty reasonably priced from what I'm seeing online. So it's pretty good.
Cool.
You've been nodding a lot, Brandon.
No, it's another one of those Portal text on cards games that I won't mess with. So
I will say this: the planets and the ships are really easy. The technology deck is the only place where the text on cards can be a challenge.
Yeah.
2 out of 3. So there's really only one deck of cards that you're ever going to be reading, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Right. Like everything else, once you're one play in or even half a play in, you're like, oh yeah, okay, bang, bang, bang. And the game just really cruises. It reminded when I played this with a couple of friends of mine in Indiana when I went to visit them a couple weeks ago. And when I first taught them, I was like, this is going to feel a little bit like Imperial Settlers, which is a game I know you guys really like. And when they got done, they said, this didn't feel like Imperial Settlers at all. It felt like Eminent Domain, which very much surprised me. But then we played it again. I'm like, yep, I see exactly what you were talking about. And just like Eminent Domain, once you get it, you just have it and it really cruises. So I think that's one of its strengths.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't going to say that, Ben, but yeah, there is the one thing is you do actually have to make sure that you do the little bit of reading that is in the game. Once you learn it, you got it. So for me, it's a buy it. It's good.
Yep.
All right. Brandon, you want to talk about the other one, or you want to just
let's the only other one I was going to talk about was Rajas of the Ganges, which I can save until I play it a little bit more because I've only played it once, but it's positive thoughts we'll say about it.
So your hot take is positive.
I like the intersecting the way you win it is you have a fame track and you have a money track and they run opposite of each other, and so the object is to get those two intersect
when they meet,
and when they intersect, that triggers end of game, and whoever has the base. It's really interesting that some of the things seemed a little imbalanced, but like I said, it was a 2-player and 1-play, so I won't say much. So,
gotcha.
But yeah, it was fun. I need to get it played again.
So I was yapping a lot. I'm gonna. First off, Raja sounds really good. I want you to play this a bunch more because I'm excited for this. This looks good.
Yep, it is
so good. There's your homework. You have 2 weeks.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go back.
Trad, it is a smidge dry on the theme.
That's all right. I'm all right with that. I want to back up a little bit though, because I wasn't paying close enough attention to the chat room, and they started talking about alien artifacts, and so I want to kind of address some of this stuff. The chat room seems to think in general that it's a lot like 51st State and Imperial Settlers. I really did not feel like it once I started playing. Like the concept, yes, but it really doesn't feel like that at all. It looks like it, but that's where it ends. So Chad, I respectfully disagree. It doesn't feel the same game at all. I understand what you mean, like, because you're building your tableau of cards, which generates an engine, but the way that the game plays is so much, it feels more controlled and less like one of my biggest concerns with Imperial Settlers is that you were drawing cards off of a deck to see what you would be allowed to build. And this, at least you can see the cards that are on the deck, right? Like you can literally look and say, this is the card I'm going to build. That's awesome. So that would be the only, I guess so. I don't know. It feels different enough is my opinion, but that's all right. That's why we have this stuff. All right. So now I'm backpedaling back to what you said. Rogers looks really pretty. I have pictures open now. That looks gorgeous. Is this available? Is this in retail now?
Yeah, it should be available from R&R Games. It should be anywhere now, I think. I got it before Christmas because R&R was doing a sale on their site. And then it showed up pretty much right after that. So
okay. Well, it's on Amazon, so yeah, it is.
Yeah.
This one might be, it's real positive, huh? This one,
it's positive. It's a dice worker placement, basically, or dice allocation. One of the things that bugged me about it was the mitigation. There are ways to mitigate your dice because you do roll them, and when you roll them, they stay on that face, and then that value does help determine what you can do. So there are times where you're going to be stuck with those, and you can't change it. There's a track, I forget what it's called. I think it's called Karma, that allows you to change it. Basically, you would change it to the opposite side. So that's like one way to do it. So, but if you're stuck with a 4, you get a 3. You're never going to get a 5 or a 6 if you need it, right? Gotcha. The other option is to re-roll your dice. And good Lord knows that's always reliable. So. Sure. So there were a couple times I was really, really, really irritated with it. You can ask Corinza later how many times I rolled double 1s. So,
gotcha. Well, I got to say, as somebody that fell head over heels in love with Pulsar 2849, which is a game that also all you want is a freaking 4 to come up on the dice, and then it never does.
Yeah.
I'm all right, and the fact that I still love that game, I'm a little more forgiving of this than maybe the average Euro gamer.
Yeah.
So those don't sound like game deal breakers to me, but I like it.
Yeah, like I said, there are ways to change and mitigate, but they're very limited.
Gotcha.
Or at least they felt that way to me, but that's probably just because how horrible I rolled dice. I'm not a good Ameritrash gamer. So,
all right. Well, practice. I await 2 weeks from now when you do your homework and you play it.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of things to look forward to, let's talk about 2018, Brandon.
No.
So in our show prep today, just in the interest of full disclosure, Brandon and I were kind of talking back and forth about the stuff that we were thinking of that we were really anticipating. And Brandon's been sick, and he's got a monkey snuggie and glow in the dark ears on. So he is there. He's already bringing a little extra weird to the table today. But the point is that I said out loud, you know what, Brandon? Even though there is a lot of stuff in it I'm anticipating, I looked at my shelves and I realized that I could go a year without buying games and be completely okay. So I don't want to start by saying that there's nothing good to anticipate, because there's a ton of really good stuff that's coming this year. And we're going to talk about a lot of it. But I'm we'll come back to that. Just kind of keep that in the back of your head when we talk about all this stuff. That Bruce Vogue said this when we were on a show together. We were on Board Games together at BGG 2016, and he said, "You know what, Bill? If all of the publishers in the gaming industry went out of business tomorrow, and all we had were the games we currently have on our shelves, we would still have a lifetime of awesome gaming to do for the rest of whatever." So for people that feel like we are trying to be pushers and drive people to make lots of purchases, keep that in the back of our head. I also agree with that, right? I'm the guy that went through a year of austerity. So there is a middle point, and we're going to try and find it. Here we go. So let's start with, really fast, stuff that we have on Kickstarter that hasn't fulfilled yet, because I kind of want to knock those out first, because I feel like we've already talked about them a bunch over the span of the last year, right? So there's going to be a few that are on this list, for me anyway, that are Kickstarters I'm still kind of waiting on. You know what I mean? So are there, let's do like 3. Brandon, are there 3 Kickstarters you have coming that you're really geeked about getting that should get here this year?
That should get here this year. Why don't you kick one off? I can come up with some. Yeah, I just have to look. I only have 9 Kickstarters open right now.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good.
So it's good for me.
My number one that you guys poo-pooed and made me call you crazy people full of insane thoughts was Brass. I'm really excited to get a good copy of the Martin Wallace Classic with really awesome components, Roxley style. This is going to be amazing components. So I'm really geeked for that one. That's probably the Kickstarter I'm most excited for, because Brass is a game that I have always really enjoyed. But the production quality of the version that I had was such hot garbage. Like, it had those stupid silver and gold tiddlywink things for money. Ugh.
Yeah.
Shoot me in the face. I'd rather have paper money. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but I would rather have crappy paper money than have those winks. Those were bad. And you can't use paper money in that game because of the way that the turn order thing happens. So you were stuck with it, or you had to pull out your poker chip set, which is what I ended up doing. So the idea of a game that comes with poker chips, so the money actually doesn't suck right out the gate, I can't wait. Plus, we get the second map with it, which is going to be great too. The 2-player version of it, it's going to be wonderful. Cannot wait. I'm so ready for this. So that's mine. That's probably my number one of the Kickstarters that I'm waiting on.
Feudum should have been here last year. Panda had issues. Mark Swanson had issues. This one is kind of that whole Kickstarter thing for me. Really super excited about it at the beginning, and then the longer you wait, you realize I could have been without this, forever. It doesn't really matter if I get it to me, but I still want to get it. I still want to play it, and I still want to see if it holds up. I really thought it was rock solid when I played it. I love the economy in it. That's kind of the circle, kind of everything's getting passed in a circle around, and it was just really kind of interesting. Had hints of Dominant Species in there, and hints of a lot of other old kind of Euro games that made it really work. And I thought it was a really solid kickoff for a guy who this was his first big design. So
very cool. Yeah, I totally missed the boat on Feudum, but I know that I have at least one friend that for sure backed it on Kickstarter. So I'm going to get to try it.
Yeah.
When it shows up, and then we'll see if I need to dig around.
Other than that, I mean, the rest of the games on my list, sure, I'm really looking forward to getting Spy Club, and I'm really looking forward to getting like anything I back from Green Couch Games. I think I've got Before the Earth Explodes coming, and then they've got another one coming that'll be next year. But anyway, and then Best Treehouse Ever, the expansion. But yeah, all this other stuff is just kind of, I don't know.
Gotcha. You're not there.
Not that excited. I mean, I'm excited to get it, but it's just nothing that I'm really sitting there. I used to sit there and I'd track everything, and I'd pay attention, and I'd watch what was going on, and I'd be super excited, super stoked, and really involved. Now I just don't care. I give them my money and say, get it to me when you get it to me.
Yeah.
And that feels disingenuous and kind of meh.
No, I get you though. I think I was the same. I think I have been following the same arc. I'm just about 2 years behind you.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm just now getting to the point where I'm like, when it gets here, it gets here. I can go on a whole Kickstarter rant about how annoyed I get with Kickstarters when they don't follow through on the thing they tell you they're going to do in the first place. And that's really all it comes down to. I don't care. Under promise and over deliver, people. Hear my words. Like literally, that's the only thing we want. Just make a promise you can actually keep. Don't BS. Don't be super optimistic. Say, look, add in pads. Figure out, yes, it's going to take a year to get this to fine. I'll give you a year if you tell me it's a year. If you tell me 3 months and then you wait an extra year, then I get annoyed.
Yep.
So, all right, my number 2, because I want to go back to positive. The chat room is totally feeling my vibe today, and I love this because my number 2 is Stevenson's Rocket. I am really excited to get this. This is one of those games that I missed out on. It was almost a grail game for me for a long time.
It has been for me too, and I'm really happy that they did this because now I can get the old version for cheap, and it's just as fine for me.
There you go. Right, and that's great. The only reason, because I probably could have and would have done the same thing. The only reason that the Kickstarter specifically is one I'm really excited for is because I also get Kashgar involved in there as well. And Kashgar was a game that when I first played it, I was like, "That's cool. I don't think I need it." And then I found myself thinking about it still like a month later. I'm like, that's a good sign, right? Like when the game sort of sticks back in your brain with you and you keep thinking about, oh, I kind of want to play that again. I kind of want to play that again. So the fact that I could get both of them in one Kickstarter was amazing. So I'm going to cheat and I'm lumping those in as one because Kashgar was just a really nice bonus. I have a friend, actually Randy, who was on the show once, Captain Bislot, who has Kashgar and did the whole Art Scout deck, right, to get the English based up because it didn't exist in English. So I already had a playable copy sort of in my network, but I like the idea of this game a lot. So I'm excited for that one. Do you want me to just jump straight to my number 3?
Yeah.
All right. My number 3, and the last one I'm going to talk about today because I don't want to make too big of a deal of this, is Founders of Gloomhaven. I really like the idea of, so Gloomhaven is a game that I'm still struggling to get to the table. Even though I bought now the insert to make it easier to get to the table, for some reason it's going to end up becoming a solo game at the rate I'm going because I can't get people to play it. I don't know why, because it's such a good game. You'd think, and every other person in social media that I hear that owns Gloomhaven that isn't Patrick, right? Patrick's the only one that's sort of Well, no, I guess actually, except for the hosts on my show, but everybody else has said how much they love this game and how much they're enjoying just getting through the campaign and working through all this stuff. I can't get up. I can't get moving on it, and it's frustrating. But the idea of a Euro game that's based in what I think is this really interesting and deep world that Isaac Childress made for Gloomhaven, I think is really appealing. So I'm kind of geeked. I want to try that. So I'm really looking forward to that too. I can't wait to see how that turns out. So
I have a feeling that's another one that a lot of people backed, not realizing what it was. And so I'll scoop that one up on the secondary market soon after.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Paul in the chat room brought up a really good point that we failed to mention that Gloomhaven took the #1 spot on BGG just as of a few days ago.
Yeah,
I think maybe we should do another episode. We did an episode on the BGG rankings a long time ago, fairly early in season 1. Remember, we decided we're in season 2 now. Mm-hmm. We talked about the BGG rankings and how important they were a long time ago. I kind of want to revisit that conversation so that we might sort of table that for an entire another conversation, because I think there's some interesting sort of the dynamic of how those rankings work.
We're going to see these changes happen a lot more now.
Yep.
Than we did in the past. Yeah, there's more people, there's more games, and there's more.
Well, more new users that are just now getting around to ranking things, and new users
that only rank one thing.
Yeah, well, or they don't know. They don't have 10 years of history with Puerto Rico, where they didn't start with those. You know what I mean? I think that's going to be a big deal. So anyway, we're going to table that for right now, but that is fascinating. So that just goes to the strength of Gloomhaven, right? The fact that it took that #1 spot, and there haven't been that many games that have ever been in the #1 spot.
No.
So I think that's interesting. So those are the Kickstarters, right? So let's get away from there and let's start talking about other games. And for the record, I'm going to put a link in the chat of the titles only version of the Geek List. There it is on BGG, which is the most anticipated games of 2018, like contest they run on BGG. The nomination window is open for another few days as of the recording of the show. January 1st today. It's open until the 6th. So if you want to get in on this, you can win some Geek Gold. But more importantly, this is a nice big long list of games that people are sort of thinking about that I'm not going to lie. I suspect both Brandon and I both used as kind of a cheat sheet on stuff to sort of inspire us on what we wanted to talk about.
Yep. I've literally kind of unplugged myself in general from what's coming. Trying to do that. So this was literally tonight. I looked for the first time.
Well, and you know what? And I have been ever since my austerity 2016 thing.
Yeah.
I sort of naturally never plugged back into the hype machine as much as I had.
Yeah.
Which is why you're going to notice a theme across the ones that I have picked for tonight.
Yep. The ones I picked have no Kickstarter tag on them. They have nothing like that. But yeah, no, I tried to unplug. I figure if I'm going to know about something, I'll know about it eventually soon enough, and that'll be soon enough. I don't need to be searching 10 months in advance to find something.
Sure. So let's talk about, so the ones that I have 9 on my list. Okay. And they fall into sort of 4 main categories. I just realized this actually as I was looking, which is there are reprints and new editions that I'm excited for, besides the one I've already talked about. There are expansions I'm really excited for. There are IP-based new products that I'm excited / hopeful / a little worried about. And then there are the just straight up brand new things. So, right. So these are sort of the 4 categories that I have found myself kind of looking at. So let's start with, are there any like reprints or second editions or whatever that you're really geeked about, Brandon? Anything?
What's that?
Reprints, second edition?
No. I don't think I picked any of them as reprints or anything that I added. Glenn Moore is getting the reprint, which I don't think anybody knows anything officially if it's coming next year or not. It's on there. Oh shoot, what else was there? There was one more, but go ahead. It was Glenn Moore and one other reprint, but I can't for the life of me that I can't think of.
Anybody that has ever paid attention to me on social media at all, or has met me, or has played games with me at a convention, should be able to guess what my first and most anticipated thing of 2018 is going to be, which is the Eclipse second edition. The fact that they are redoing Eclipse, making a second edition with balance tweaks, including some of the content from the expansions, and giving us better components and a more streamlined experience so more people can get involved in the gloriousness that is Eclipse. I'm really geeked about. Eclipse is I cannot wait for a second edition and to see what it is that they did, because I think that a lot of people learned a lot in the 7 years now, the 7 years since Eclipse was first released. I think that there has been a lot of progress in them as a design studio and the way that they look at games, that I think that they learned from their mistakes. They realized that Eclipse wasn't perfect and the point of entry is not awesome, and they're going to fix that. And I cannot wait. Cannot wait. So I will probably, I'm not going to lie, there's a very, very real chance. Well, first off, this is an auto buy for me. As soon as this is available, I'm going to buy it. Even though I own the original Eclipse and all of the bells and whistles, I'm going to buy this. What's going to be the interesting thing is whether I get rid of my first edition set or start trying to wrap it in. If it's compatible, like if the expansions are compatible with second edition, if I wrap things in, or if I end up selling my first edition set and they're going to redo all the expansions. I don't know. However that ends up playing out.
And all your lovely storage and all your lovely everything else for the game.
Well, remember, my storage got significantly less lovely after Bill's birthday bash last year.
Oh.
They forced me to check the bag that my copy of Eclipse was in and then crushed it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I ended up then having to do this whole new restorage thing.
Okay.
And I've spent all of 2017 trying to fix the mistakes of the airline that I flew, basically. So that, trust me, that part doesn't hurt my feelings at all. I can't wait to get a box that actually works. That'll be great. So that's my number one.
Yeah.
Let's see. The other reprint that I'm excited about is Key Market. I've always been a little bit of a Richard Breeze fanboy. So the idea that Key Market, which is the one that has always sort of been the Grail game in the Key series, is going to get a reprint this year, I think is wonderful, and I can't wait. I never got to play this one. I've been a fan since Cathedral. I have my copy of Cathedral, my well-traveled beat to hell box, still sitting on my shelf because I like that game so much, and I like everything else that I've ever played in that series except Aladdin's Dragons, which I'm glad isn't really a Key game because they changed the name, so I can say it that I like all the Key games except for that one, and that's okay. I might get to play Keeper tomorrow. I can't wait.
Yay.
Oh, that would be so good. All right, so that's the reprints. Nothing from you on that?
Nope, nothing else. Like I said, Glenmore, and then
That's true.
I didn't dig back through the list to figure out that other one I was looking at, but like Chad pointed out, we got the Targi expansion coming in English finally.
Yes.
I believe the main box is also getting reprint, so that should be available in 2018, and that's a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah, for me too.
If you like two-player games that are good and confrontational, there's your good one.
I think. See, and I don't like super confrontational, but Targi, it dances on that edge for me, right? Like you can, like it is just barely dickish enough to satisfy people that like that, but it isn't that, like it isn't overwhelmingly so for people that don't like in-your-face games, right? Like you can definitely. I love Targi so very much.
Yep, it's solid.
Yeah, Andy did it such a good job. I cannot wait to get. I would argue that Targi would be in like my top 5 two-player games of all time,
as it should.
As would the first game that is on my list. See, that was called a segue, Brandon. As the first game on my list of expansions that I'm really excited for is the Fields of Arl expansion, Tea and Trade. See how I did that there?
Oh, Lord.
I'm proud of me. That was good. Shut up.
That was good. Good.
Fields of Arl, Tea and Trade. It has a 2017 release date on BGG, and that's fine. It's not here yet. I don't have it, so I'm counting it. I don't care. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's available anywhere for retail. It doesn't seem like it is.
Yeah, I don't even think it was. It may have been available at Essen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are people that have copies of it on the geek market, so I'm assuming. But the English edition is being shown as a 2018 release. So there, I feel better.
Yeah.
I'll definitely wait for that because there is enough text that you actually care. You do have to care a little bit for that. So I adore Fields of Arl. The only flaw Fields of Arl has ever really had is that it doesn't have quite enough variability in spots. There were parts that were always a little bit samey, as much as I adore it. And so the idea that we can fix that with an expansion, it's so good. My only fear is that my custom insert will no longer work, and that'll make me sad because I really like it.
Yeah.
So, but Fields of Arl, that's it for me. How about you? You got an expansion?
Nope.
You geeked about? No, man. All right. You suck.
I do.
Right. So they just announced the third and final expansion for Scythe called The Rise of Fenris. That's supposed to come out third quarter this year. Brandon is going to be curiously quiet on this because he's pretty vocal about not liking Scythe, so that's fine.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I really like Scythe a lot. I have not picked up the Wind Gambit yet because I know what's in there and it doesn't feel like a thing I need. But The Rise of Fenris includes a campaign, which I think I really dig because as much as I like Scythe, the fact that it's got this really rich lore and then doesn't really play on it a whole lot in the game always made me a little bit sad. As much as I enjoy the game, I want more of the lore because he did an interesting job world building, and I'm geeked that this will maybe do that. This one will actually sort of address that issue. So I'm looking forward to that. And then my outside pick, and this is an outside pick, is there is another Eminent Domain expansion coming called Oblivion. And this is an outside pick for me because I really like Eminent Domain a lot and struggle to get it to the table. I don't know why, but for some reason, as much as I enjoy that game, I just it doesn't seem to get played as much as I feel like it deserves. So as much as I want this expansion to exist, I'm slightly hesitant here because I feel like it's just going to be more stuff in a box that I'm already not opening. And I hate that, right? So that's my outside pick, right? Like that is the one I'm anticipating playing someone else's copy. Is that cheating?
Nah, that works.
All right, because I want to play it. I don't know that I need to buy it yet. So that's it. All right, the third of our categories for me were the intellectual properties being turned into board games that I'm excited about. I think there are a bunch of them coming this year. That seems like a thing that's going to be a big deal. So there are two that I'm really excited about. Warehouse 13, I think, is a really underrated TV show from a while back. And I love that they're making a board game about it. That looks like, and Michael Aldridge at the helm gives me some hope that there's some real design work behind it, which I'm kind of excited about. It's got a trader mechanism involved, and I haven't done a whole lot of reading about this, but the reason that I'm making a point of talking about Warehouse 13 is because I think that there are a lot of weird, smaller IPs out there that would shine as board games and are getting overlooked. The one that leaps to mind right now is Eureka, the old TV show Eureka. That is like the first 3 or 4 seasons. It kind of went off the rails it jumped its own shark, I think, near the end of its run as a TV show. But I think that slightly silly, like Gilmore Girls meets, J.J. Abrams, which is sort of how that show always felt to me, right? Mm-hmm. I think would make a really interesting world for a game. And so Warehouse 13 feels like a step towards something like that, right? But I feel like we could get more funky, strange IPs like that being turned into games and maybe generating more interest in what I think is an underserved thing. I don't know. Did you ever watch Warehouse 13? Chat room, help me out here. Am I the only one that was a big fan of that show? Because I really liked it for the longest time when it was, and binge watched it for quite some time, which is weird for me. I don't watch very much TV. No, Brandon, nothing?
Nope, I never did. No.
Okay.
I don't get to watch too many TV shows, Bill. You know that with 2 kids, The TV is rarely mine.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So the idea of a BSG style game really appeals to me, right? Because as much as I enjoy BSG, I think there is so much going on with that game now and so many expansions or whatever that it's hard to get just a base game of it to the table to get people back interested in it. So a different thing that sort of gives that same feel, but in a new context might be a breath of fresh air to it. So that's
cool.
All right. And then this is probably going to be light, and I'm really worried. This is the one that I'm really worried about, which is Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal, the board game. So Alessio Cavatore is the designer, and that's a good thing. There's some good stuff he's done some good stuff. And so that helps, but I also looked at pictures of this and this looks really light, but I love the Dark Crystal so much. I want this to not suck. I heard rumors before that there was that there was going to be a Dark Crystal game coming, and I don't think I don't know if this is the same one or not. But what I know is that there are a lot of Dark Crystal games actually in the database. Surprisingly enough, there's a bunch of older stuff. I'm hoping that maybe they'll bring some modern day sensibility to, again, another great IP, and maybe give us a good game. I hope so. Please don't screw this up, guys. I just don't want this to be garbage. The Labyrinth game was so bad. The Labyrinth game was so bad. Did you play it?
Nope, I didn't.
It's real bad.
I tend to stay away from the IPs.
Yeah, see, Chad in the chat is don't. Chad in the chat is saying that the game looks like it's going to go the same road as Labyrinth game. I don't want it to.
It's just a quick cash in for.
Yeah, so bad. Damn it. All right, fine. All right, Brandon. I'm not letting you off the hook anymore.
Okay,
pick one. Something new, something brand new.
Something IP. Am I still on this one, or have I gone to somewhere else? As IP wise, they did bring up the DBZ game in the chat, and it sounds interesting. There's not a whole lot out there. It is being done by IDW, and it's I believe Chris Bryan is doing the design work on it. The gentleman who was part of Board with Life, and he's also now designed Favelas. So, and they've got ties. Him and his friends have ties to the DBZ community anyway. So, I think that one may be fun. Korra should still be fun once it hits.
Yeah.
I ultimately didn't back it, but we'll see if I get a copy. So, IP wise, that's about the two I'm looking for too.
I've never been a Dragon Ball Z fan, not because I hate on it or anything. I just never got into it.
Yeah.
So I'm really
I'm not a huge fan of the anime. There's way too much for me to ever get into, so I just kind of always avoided it.
Yeah, exactly. I felt the same way about Avatar, and a lot of people said the same thing, right?
Well, Avatar, I mean, Jesus, are there 73 seasons of DBZ at this point? So I don't know where to start. That's my confusion. So
okay, that's fair. I don't know. Yeah, that's an IP that I'm just flat out outside the loop on. It'll probably be good. I hope if somebody buys it and I get to play it, I probably will. I probably won't seek it out though.
Yeah. Stupid. Oh, it's a dice pool style game. Well, then you can take me out of the hype.
What is wrong with you?
You just heard how I complained about Rajas, and I had to roll dice.
All right. Okay.
Exciting wise, Heaven and Ale should be hitting here from Plan B Games in February, I think, which was the big one from Eggert Spiel at Essen. So I'm hoping to get that. That's what I'm super excited about. I like beer. I like Kiesling. I like I like economic farming games. This looks good.
All right. I got to say, a few people whose opinions, including, I believe, Kimberly, I think Matt in the chat, help me out. I thought that Kimberly said that, or you guys said that Heaven and Ale was your hit of BGG, or who was it? There was at least one person that I know that was their big hit from BGG.
Yep.
And
it's got a lot of positive buzz about it.
Yeah, I want to try it. I was supposed to try and buy it for you, if I recall correctly. Yes. That was on the list, right?
That was one of the ones from Fun Again. If they would have had a copy sitting there to grab, I would have overpaid for it at that point.
I think they did, but I didn't feel like getting hip checked into oblivion because there were No. I know that you're not worried about it. I'm saying that when I see people behaving badly at conventions to try and get their hands on a box, I get a little bit downcast. Yeah. And as much as I'm really excited for it, and I agree, it'll probably be an insta buy for me as well. I don't want to have to literally physically be interacted with in weird ways like that. All right. For me, Noria is probably at the top of my list. You said when we talked about this a couple weeks ago that you thought I would enjoy the beginning of this and not the end. And you may very well be right, and I don't care.
I don't think you're not going to enjoy it. I think it's one of those games that's really, really, really interesting and I hate to say it, it's a really interesting premise, and I love the idea of the whole spinning gears, but once you get it kind of figured out, you kind of lose the fun, and then the game went away for me. Like I said, I still need to play it again, just because I want to know if that was just the second half of the game for me, or if it was, the game itself.
So that what you have described, and I was thinking about this a little bit, what you've described is a concern that I feel like people have brought up multiple times about Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar as well, which is a game where once
it's not nearly that deep.
Okay. Well, that's good. But I mean, the core that I'm talking about here is that once you figure out how to work the wheels and you get into a rhythm, the game plays itself near the end.
Yeah, it does. Yep.
Your actions become sort of predictable. That's and I mean, and I'm probably comparing this unfairly. I'm probably jumping to Tzolk'in from Noria because of the wheels versus gears thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that they are both sort of based on a gimmick to an extent, not gimmick in the bad way, but gimmick in, more like this is the hook for this game.
I just think once you figure it out and once you get your rhythm set, and maybe that's just what it's supposed to be. Maybe you're supposed to have that engine done and you do it, you turn, you do it, and it just plays itself. But that didn't feel right to me.
Yeah. Well, and there are some, and there are definitely people, like there is an entire pedigree of game designs that goes all the way back, I would argue, to games like Outpost, where the whole first half of the game determines what your second half is, right? And and those are fairly polarizing games in general. So this might just be one of those deals where that's what the game is, and then it's a matter of do we enjoy it enough to want to do that again? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, did you enjoy the first half enough to? And I don't know. I'm really excited for it. I like the art style a lot. I'm a sucker for a good gimmick in a game, especially when it drives a good game.
I wonder if there's just a way, and it is that way with other games, where if you feel like you're really working your butt off for that first half of the game, and then you get it built, then it's just done. So I wonder if there's a way to end the game there. No, it's
well, and there's
that should be the game to me.
Sure, I got you.
For certain people.
Yeah, and again, I think what I mean, that's what I was saying before, is I think you might be outside of that demographic. You might be not one of those people that just likes to watch your engine hum.
Yeah.
You're right.
I like the building. I really do.
Sure. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So again, I'm kind of trying to keep up with the chat a little bit here and doing sort of a fairly poor job of this. But yeah, I agree. I think that this for sure, there's definitely more game here. This is coming from Stronghold, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Stronghold is
Steve has bringing it over here.
Yep.
And it'll sell and it'll do really, really well. And I think it's a quality design from a first-time designer. So
the one thing that I will say is that the BGG, we all know that BGG's ratings are not all that in a bag of chips, right? Like everything isn't perfect here. But the fact that people are weighting this at 3.59 sounds like it's much heavier than it feels like you were describing it. Does it feel like a heavy game like that? What we would
what do they got it rated at? Or what do they have it at on BGG?
3.59.
No, it's not a 3.59.
Okay.
It's definitely on that mid-heavy, but I'd say it's closer to the mid.
Okay.
Because that first half there's a lot to wrap your head around, that first half of getting it planned and getting everything in the right position and getting things where you want them to be.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think also part of it, maybe getting a 3.59, is the rule book wasn't that great.
Oh, yeah.
So, but being, it's a game from
nickel.
Yeah. I think that tends to cause people to, to think things are a little bit harder, more difficult than they are.
I think there is going to be an episode. We might even have this be next week's episode. I haven't decided next week's. I seriously want there to be an open letter episode where, like, the top 10 things. I hate to say top 10 because that makes people instantly roll their eyes at you, right? But like 10 things we would like publishers and designers to hear.
Yeah,
like these are. And please hire people that know how to edit and write a technically sound rule book.
Yeah, and wait, let's say this. The copy I played was not. It was English. That they had an English rule book in it, but it was the Eggertspiel version.
Okay,
so not the Stronghold version that I played. So there still may be some issues with it, but I think when Steven and his team gets a hold of it,
oh boy, I hope so. I'm just gonna say
it'll be a little bit better.
Let's
throw that caveat in there for Noria.
Yeah, although I have not been afraid to point out, as much as I love Stronghold games, and I genuinely do. I was on the podcasting panel with Steven. He's a great guy. He was on one of the live streams that I did from BGG, and he's good people. Not always been a fan of the rule books that Stronghold has come out with in the past.
Yes. So and he knows. Yep.
So all I'm saying is that they're probably in the upper half nowadays as far as better rulebooks go. They're definitely worse.
Let's get into more fun games that we're looking forward to. Like more fun.
Yeah. Like artificial intelligence?
Like Decrypto.
Like Decrypto. What?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Decrypto.
It's from a small publisher up in Canada called La Scorpion Mask. But I believe it's coming from Yellow. I think they've picked it up. And it's basically kind of a deduction game where you're on a team, 2 teams, and it uses that. What is that silly little thing that they used to do, like in the Cracker Jacks, where coded like you have the red screen and you slide something behind it, and then you can see it uses that.
Nice.
So it's really fun. You're basically just trying to get your team to be able to know words and things, and you don't want the other team to know what they are. But it's all just look it up. It looks fun.
Yeah,
I've got an interview with the designer Thomas and one of the gentlemen from La Scorpion Mask that I'll have on the website sooner than later. So, but it looks like a lot of fun, and I know people who have played it, and they swear by this being the best game that they've played in the last 5 years. So,
the best game, period.
Yeah. So much so that they've built 2 or 3 different versions of it, just to have so they can prototype it and play it. So, yep, it's a simple little thing.
Okay, so here's the deal. This does look fascinating, and I dig the idea. Okay, but the best game of the last 5 years, not the best party game.
Nope,
not the best deduction game.
Yeah, don't be snooty, Bill.
I'm not being snooty.
Fun light games can be better games. Than these heavy monstrosities that are out. I'm
not saying that everything has to be heavy to be awesome. I'm saying that I am somewhat dubious about a game that uses like
I would be too, but
red cellophane to be, to decode numbers.
It's perfect.
All right. I don't think it's
I would be dubious of it too, but it looks like a lot of fun.
I do want to try it.
Yep.
That does look fun. Wow. Okay. Best game of the year. You heard it here first. Best game of the last 5 years.
That will be the game of 2018.
Holy Jesus. I don't think any of the things you just said are true, but there you go. All right. Artificial intelligence from What's Your Game? So What's Your Game? Brandon, help me. Let's walk through this. Okay.
Yes, sir.
They normally come out with 1 big box game a year, right?
1 big box a game a year, usually at Essen, isn't it? And this year they didn't. They came out with Loot Island, which was kind of a smaller party-ish game.
And I'm blanking. What's the one they thought they were going to come out with?
Brazil was the one I thought they were supposed to come out with. That's the new. I'm so horrible, and I regret this.
The chat was talking about Brazil.
Yes, I've forgotten the designers' names, and that's what I'm gnashing my teeth.
Nuno and Paulo.
Yeah, Nuno and yes,
and Paulo.
Nuno and Paulo. So that one was supposed to be this year, but it got pushed back.
Okay.
And so it kind of wonders if they're going to buck their trend here, and you may get 2 What's Your Game titles this year.
Well, BGG has them both listed as 2018 releases.
Okay.
Now, of course, BGG is, not the end all be all. They don't determine the production chains of the publishers.
Yeah.
They just go with whatever they know. But they seem to think that both are going to come out this year.
Which would make sense considering they basically skipped last year. They didn't have anything that I remember other than Loot Island. So I don't think they even had any other. Did they? Or the Railroad game, was that last year or the year before? The lighter weight
Railroad Revolution.
Yeah.
Was 2016.
Okay. So yeah, they skipped a year basically.
I think so.
Yep.
Now I want to look. Hey, chat room, help us out. All right. Was Railroad Revolution 2016 or 2017? I think it was 2016.
Yeah. But I think Paulo and Nuno are kind of having issues with Brazil, and that's what pushed it back. And so it makes me wonder.
Define having issues with
the design and with getting it ready with what they want it to be. Just
perfecting it.
Yeah. And so that kind of, I think, is what worries me a bit about it. Maybe it becomes this big overblown thing that they can't finish. Like if you've ever seen the Wonder Boys, where the guy's just been writing forever because he just keep working on it. And it turns out to be this like 3,000 page pile of whatever. But yeah. But I worry about that with Brazil, but I trust Nuno and Paulo. So.
Right. Well, yeah. And okay. So Paulo has a post up on BGG from September 6th of 2016 saying that it was being postponed to 2017.
Yeah.
So, and now it's still not. So
Yeah, I didn't even see it on the anticipated list, but I could be wrong.
Right. Okay. So that's probably like that probably should be ranked above AI, like on our anticipation list, right? Because it's been.
Well, that depends on what you want. I mean, AI. I didn't even look at it, Bill. I'm sorry.
So I will read you the blurb. It's an action selection game. Each player is a big investor pulling strings from various corporations in order to make money and increase.
It's the same designers.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the same folks. So, I mean, this is their. Here's the deal. What's Your Game is pretty much an insta. Like at the very least, it jumps. What's Your Game and Check Games end up being the two companies that I pretty much am always interested in what they have to say. Like I have yet to play a game from either one of them that I thought was objectively bad. That doesn't mean that they don't ever make bad games. I'm just saying I don't think that I'm always at least very interested and involved when either one of them comes out with something. So if it's a What's Your Game, it's already on my radar.
Yep.
And I love the AI. I love what it looks like, the art style, just based on the one picture they have on the BGG. Right. But I like that, right? Like I like the idea that they're going with a darker, because let's face it, What's Your Game has everything that they've done up till this point has been sort of historically themed, old timey. Here's a part of history that we think is kind of rad, Yeah. You have Signori with marrying people up, and you have Madeira, and you've got, Railroad Revolution, and you've got, Nippon and Zhangguo, everything.
Don't forget Asgard.
And right. Yeah, sure. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Everything has been old timey. So I like the idea of them kind of taking that design sensibility that it feels like they have perfected and then moving it into a new sort of, yeah. I'm just, so, I don't know. For me, that's a big deal.
Yeah, no, you didn't even have to say a title. You just have to say Nuno and Paulo have a new game coming, and I'm probably there watching.
Yeah,
and seeing what happens with it. So
yeah, Vinos too. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, Vinos. What's another one here? You can keep all your other legacy games and stick them where the sun don't shine. I'm waiting for the brands to come out with theirs. The Rise of Queensdale. And all I know about it is it's the rebirth of Ravensburg, or of Aliyah, right?
That's a big deal right out the gate.
We've got Aliyah coming back, and this one, basically, all we know is it's medieval and it features dice management. So,
suddenly this is now we found a dice game you actually want.
Yeah, because it's the brands.
Whatever. Whatever.
Which is the same thing as Rajas. That's the brands as well. So
right, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like
they do interesting things with games. Everything Village. I love the aging family members, the working. I like what they try to do, little things like that to their games. And I'm hoping for this one, especially for Aliyah's sake, to come back strong and be a really good one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so, here's the deal. I love legacy games. I have been probably at least in my area, one of the loudest people shouting to the heavens how good of an idea legacy games are and how they can tell interesting stories that you just can't tell with an infinitely replayable Euro game.
Yeah.
Like I think that there is something to be said for that. Having said that, and I stand by all of those things, I'm starting to become demoralized by my Gloomhaven experience. And I haven't played Charterstone yet. I haven't played Pandemic Season 2 yet. I have to figure out a way to get myself to the point where I can actually get these damn things played. Yep. So anytime you bring up a legacy game, I start to get a little bit.
I hope for a legacy game some point that isn't a lifestyle game. And that's what we've seen these kind of things become.
Well, that's Gloomhaven for sure.
That's Gloomhaven for sure. And even people treat, even if it's just 24 games of Pandemic Legacy, people treat this like this is something that we have to do.
See, and I forget, right? Because Pandemic Legacy Season 1 for me was 2 days with Molly. Yeah. Like we literally just planned 2 days and we were like, we're just going to do this. Bam. And we just knocked the whole damn thing out and we loved it. So I forget that not everybody does that. People are playing
I'm
like
still not finished.
Right. people are playing like one game a month of it, and I
Yep.
spaced that off because that just was not my experience.
I hope that this, because I love the legacy idea. I love the ever-changing game that you play. I don't like the feeling that I have to sit down and schedule it every week with my friends.
It becomes an obligation.
It does,
right?
That's why I don't do 10 by 10s.
Yeah. Well, and here's the deal, right? So I might have fulfilled my 10 by 10, but I don't know because I stopped tracking it because it started making me feel bad about not playing certain games, right? My Terraforming Mars solo challenge that I was really excited about, I stopped doing it because it made me feel like I had to do it.
Yeah.
And even though I enjoyed it, like when I was doing it, as soon as I made the mistake of setting a goal for myself, I just felt like then I had to. And that just sucked a lot of the fun out of it for me. So I definitely get it. Right.
So that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is this is kind of a lighter, kind of doesn't quite take itself so damn seriously legacy game.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about Gloomhaven too, right? Is that there's this sunk cost thing, right? So I bought Gloomhaven and then I bought a custom insert in order to try and get Gloomhaven to the table. And I bought the damn upgrade kit that I'm still waiting on. You know, I'm $200 into Gloomhaven at this point.
You know, we did reprints and I forgot one. This one might be for you too. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
I was just looking here.
Do it. Go.
History of the World.
Okay, so my history with History of the World is colorful.
Okay.
There was a guy in my old game group that I don't get to game with much anymore. That was the only game he ever wanted to play.
Really?
Yeah, that is an astonishingly weird choice for being your one game you always want to get to the table. And I played a lot of History of the World.
Yeah.
Like a lot for about 2 years. A lot.
Yeah.
Or did I mention a lot?
I think you mentioned a lot, but I'm not sure.
So the idea of a reprint, so that way I could once again put myself through that a lot, does not like it.
But it's from Z-Man, and I assume they're changing some things, and I hope they're modernizing it a little bit. So maybe, you know, it becomes a little less of a pain for you.
That is a perfect example of a game that I'm sad that I burned myself out on, because it really is good. It does something with dudes on a map that I think is, you know, an area control and area majority or whatever that was really different than most everything else for its time. I just wish I hadn't burned out on it. So I don't know. Yeah, I will try it. Well, here's the deal. I will probably get an email from my buddy when the new version comes out, and he'll be like, "Hey, let's play this again."
Hey,
great.
You remember History of the World? I remember you loving this game, Bill. Come join me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. What's this Purple Brain nonstop?
Purple Brain, they were bought by Asmodee. I don't know what reprint he is talking about. I am going to mention Oliver Twist, which is a new Bruno Cathala game, which, oh my word, if you've ever wanted to see a overdone box, this is what you're going to see. It's done like a book that pulls out, and your player boards are like the attics of houses, and so you can like reach in and grab things and stick them up. You have like the chimney, just really well done. And it's basically it's lightweight, pick up and deliver set collection, and it's just a beautiful little game with the Oliver Twist theme, where you're the urchins out there going and stealing the things for Fagin. So yeah,
I could be into that. It's gorgeous.
It is.
Holy crap, that's pretty.
Yeah, it is. They seriously went insane with this.
That's good. Look, here's the deal. Personal feelings aside, Jamie Stegmaier, not solo, but introduced us all to the idea in many ways. And I'm sorry, I'm probably laying too much at his feet here, but I feel like with his Deluxe Bits Kickstarters from years ago, he reinforced the idea that having a deluxe, a really crazily over-pimped, not over-pimped, that's a terrible word, sorry, but overly produced game can make a game that might be only kind of really satisfying. You know, and I don't think if this game comes out in a $25 box, does anybody care? Right? You know what I mean? Like if Oliver Twist comes out in just a $25 normal chipboard, nothing fancy, nothing special, does anybody give a crap? But the fact that when you put this much production into it, maybe it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it looks really, really fun. And so I mean, even that, if you're looking at the pictures, like where the roof is, where you're putting things, that has a purpose. Because if you can see things above the roof line, it's more public knowledge for the opponents to see, because you're going to stack all the things that you collect along the row, and then once you fill that up, you start stacking on top of them.
Yeah,
so you'll be seeing above the roof line there. So I can't talk. It's one I've seriously considered getting, but it's only in French right now, and there is text on the cards, which on some of the characters. Yeah. So that's the only thing that's held me off from doing it, which I still should probably do, considering Asmodee bought them. So who knows when the hell we'll get it?
Yeah, that's
how much they'll charge for it.
Yeah, until there's an English version, that's again Kashgar. We were talking about that earlier, right? That I didn't want. Like, it's a good game, but anything that requires a full pay step in order for me to play is a deal breaker for me. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
So, the idea of an English version of this sounds awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Holy crap! All right, we don't have Kimberly to yell at us for going long, so we have gone long.
We have.
Sir.
Is there anything? One last one you want to mention?
For me? I not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Neither of us are going to mention Victorian Masterminds, because
I don't know what that is.
Neither of us are going to mention a team up of Eric Lang and Antoine Bauza.
No. Well, I mean, apparently you are, but now I'm going to look it up.
I am dubious of this at best. It's a worker placement game with some really cool, with that cool CMON touch, right? I love Bauza. I've been very mediocre on Lang. So I'm hoping for somewhere in the middle for this, but it just looks like I'll probably be biting on it. It's from CMON. It's not going Kickstarter. So there's that too.
I mean, there's 3 pictures on BGG.
Yep.
And the art style of those 3 pictures looks interesting? Question mark?
Question mark, yes.
Like, I like... I don't know. So Eric Lang is on the CMON payroll now, right? Like, that's the whole idea, is he's their guy.
Yes, and this was originally an Asmodee Space Cowboys title, if I'm not mistaken, with Bauza and him tied to it, and then something happened and it went over to CMON. So it went out, overstayed its weight, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like you. I like Bauza. I'm not in love with Lang's designs in general. He's a super nice guy, but I don't have...
His games have just never been for me. I mean, Blood Rage is about as close as it got. And I just kind of like that,
We're getting yelled at.
Why?
All right, Paul in the chat is yelling at us for not talking about Black Angel from Pearl Games. So now I'm going to look it up really fast.
I was going to say, I never even saw that.
I have no idea what you're talking about. But
and Eric and Antoine have been working on this for like 2 to 3 years. I think I saw W. Eric Martin had an interview with Lang when he talked about it earlier. Why? What is so funny here? I'm sorry.
Okay, so
now I got to look it up.
The blurb for Black Angel. Art by Ian O'Toole, 4 exclamation points.
Well, that doesn't look like
the
Black
description
Angel.
is Black Angel is a game set in space.
Sold.
Yay! I don't know what
There's
I'm
a
looking
design
at here.
Oh, sorry.
What?
It's a Xavier George title.
Yeah.
So
and it's set in space.
Sorry, it's set in space. I will be buying it.
Okay.
Because we all know my love of Ginkopolis and Carson City and Troyes and Tournai and everything else, Xavier George. So
okay.
And then Sebastian J. Chardin from Pearl Games with Deus and with all those other fan things. This is probably your game of 2018.
You went from you have never heard of this game to declaring it the game of 2018 in 94 seconds.
I did.
What is wrong with you? How do you look?
Thank you, Paul.
It's got a pedigree. I understand that, but what?
I did it.
Crap.
It's been said. It's on YouTube forever.
Now it's on YouTube forever. It must be true. All right,
I'm wearing a monkey.
You are wearing a monkey snuggie
and cat ears. I should be on this the Spiel des Jahres nominee thing.
Yeah. Logan Paul will be calling you in mere moments. You have a much better chance of getting on his show. There you go. No, So here's the deal.
This is a game set in space. That's all they had to say.
I love that it says Black Angel is a game set in space, and that is the entirety of the description.
They could have said that. They could have just put in the description, Sebastian Desjardins and Xavier George made a game about space.
And you'd have been, okay.
And I've been like, game of the year. and I want to know who this one person is who owns it.
Say, well, click on the link. Let's find out.
Basiloof.
I don't know who that is. Anyway,
I don't either.
Look, here's the deal. I love Ginkopolis. I don't ever understand what the hell I'm doing when I play it, but I love that game.
Yeah.
I really don't like Trois.
I love Trois.
Right. Well, I think, and here's my problem with it. I really think, and this is the stupidest, most.
Oh, and this looks like Trois with a little circle and
super
dice in there.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. What I was about to say is that I always wanted to like Trois, but I hated the art style with such a fiery passion that for some reason, it just bothered me. And that's dumb, right? Because that's such a stupid reason to not like a game. No, it is a stupid. I'm agreeing with all people that are yelling at me right now, right? Like, I agree. That's a dumb reason to not like a game, but it bothered me a lot. So, Trois in space? Sure. I'm down.
In space. That's kind of what it looks like. I mean, other than what this is going on down below, I don't even know yet.
I have no idea what the hell
the central board up here really is very strikingly Trois-ish.
No, you're totally not wrong. All right. So, Paul, thank you. I legitimately, Paul in the chat, I really thank you.
I added this to my own list.
Oh my God.
I am rating it at 10 stars.
I hate you so much. Shut the hell up. Can somebody please make him stop? All right. You know what? I never mind. I can make him stop by stopping the show. There we go. All right. We got to get out of here. We're way long as it is, and people are going to be looking at a 90-minute show in their audio feed and going, what the hell did these guys do? So I suppose we're trying to wrap up an entire year. We did all right. So there you go. Oh my God, Willie. Hi, Willie. Holy crap, we haven't seen you in forever. Anyway, all right. So let's wrap this sucker up. Brandon, cheap plug time.
Cheap plug time. You can find me anywhere you find your finer Brandons. At the What Did You Play This Week podcast thing, on the website at wdyptw.com, or on the podcast, which is now an every other week podcast, which we have a one coming up. We should be. Yeah, this coming Sunday, we should have one out if I can get back in time, because I will be at Geekway Mini. If by chance any of you people are at Geekway Mini, I will be there and we'll hang out. We'll play some games.
Gotcha. I tell you what, chat room, I have a question for you really fast. While I'm doing cheap plugs, weigh in on the chat. You want us to do an after-hour show, or you want me to do an after-hour show? We'll make Brandon and his Snuggie. He can go home if he wants to, but we're going to wrap this one up. Maybe we'll do an after dark right after this and keep yapping with you guys for a few minutes, or I might anyway, because I have a bunch of stuff that I wanted to, that I kind of abridged on myself, even in a 90-minute show. So if you guys are interested, weigh in the chat room. You want to see an after dark happen right after this, we'll do another live stream. I'll just do a random one right out the gate. So, but cheap plugs for the actual show. Don't forget, please visit thecubistpodcast.com. You can find all of the video versions of this, which sometimes will miss if you feel like you missed parts of, because we are, it's a YouTube show first, audio folks. So if you feel like you wonder what people were laughing at and you want to see the monkey Snuggie and the glow in the dark ears on Brandon, head to thecubistpodcast.com. That'll have embedded links to all the YouTube shows. You can also support the show through Patreon on there or buying merch. All the links for all that stuff are at the top of the thing. And of course, go to punchboardmedia.com, where we all bring something to the table.
Bring something to the table.
Oh my God. He turned off his lights, so his ears are glowing even more than normal. That's awesome. All right. So we are probably going to do this. We're going to do another live stream in just a few minutes, and we'll see if Brandon feels like hanging out or not. Otherwise, we'll do an AMA, and I have a couple of the games I want to talk about as well. So thanks so much for watching and chatting. Chat room, you guys are amazing. I will catch up with you, chat room, in just a few minutes. The rest of you have a fantastic week gaming, and we will see you all next time. Be good.
Later. Bye.
Bye.